What's happening, survivors? I hope you're well. Welcome to the video. This one's a personal one to me, so I'm going to get straight into it and we're going to talk about why recovery feels so lonely. One thing that nobody really talks about during recovery is how lonely it becomes, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You start noticing that the world keeps moving while you're still rebuilding yourself, you know? And after a while, it's like it can start feeling like nobody truly understands what it feels like anymore. When you're struggling, whether it's illness, burnout, depression, anxiety, you know, post surgery, grief, something strange happens. And that's both physically and emotionally, internally. You know, the world gets quieter. You get fewer messages, fewer calls, less people checking in. And at first you think, oh, maybe people are just busy, you know, getting on with their normal lives. People still have to go to work, look after their own families, you know. But over a period of time, especially a longer period of time, you realise that recovery can become very isolating. And I think part of that is because people only really see the visible pain, you know, when you're moaning with your aches and pains. They can see when you're struggling with certain things, lifting, moving, you know, they don't, sorry, always understand how slow recovery can be. The hardest part, for me anyway, wasn't always physical. In fact, the physical was probably easier apart from the fatigue. So it would prolong my days where I could do something physical, you know. But sometimes it was waking up every day and trying to stay mentally strong, you know. The biggest battle was upstairs in here, you know. While feeling disconnected from normal life, you want to get up and get on as normal, but normality just doesn't kick in. It's you got a different or a new sense of normality, and you have to adapt to it. You know, you start questioning yourself, your confidence changes, your routine disappears, the routine that you was used to. You know, even your identity that changes, whether it be a little or a lot, but in some way, your identity changes as well. And while everything else is progressing in life, in other people's lives around you, you know, you're just trying to regain your stability. And that is when it can feel incredibly lonely. But something that I've realised that I think is very important is loneliness during recovery doesn't always mean, or doesn't necessarily, sorry, mean that you're failing. It means your life's changed, you know, and you're adapting to it. A lot of survivors struggle silently because they think, I should be stronger by now. I definitely struggled with that. But healing doesn't work on a schedule. Your body doesn't work on a schedule. You know, it needs time to adjust, to change, to adapt. And some days you feel motivated, other days you feel exhausted just by existing, you know. You wake up and the exhaustion kicks in before you even got your legs out of the bed, you know. And that's more common than people realise. When you're going through it, you feel singled out, you feel like you're on your own through it. But when you speak to people or get into contact with other people who have had similar experiences, you realise that it's more common than you actually think. So you're not on your own going through it, you know, it's just finding the right places, such as this channel, you know, to get that understanding, find that community, and feel like you are part of something. So, what actually helps them? I hear you all asking. And one thing that helped me most wasn't trying to become myself overnight, though I did try, you know, once I was finished treatment and whatnot. I thought, yes, I can go back to work, get back to my old routine, my old ways. But that soon slapped me in the face. Exhaustion kicked in really fast, and it didn't just last a day or so, a couple of days. We're talking weeks, where I had to just rest it out and start again. Excuse me, start again. So what I had to learn to do was build small routines, quiet structure, journaling, walking, being present with myself, you know, giving myself permission to recover properly and allowing my body that time. And with all honesty, sometimes even hearing another person explain this feels like it helps a little bit because it reminds you, you know, you're not the only one experiencing this, which I was saying before. The whole point of this channel is to show that you're not on your own going through it. I want to build a community, of survivors where we can all share stories, share experiences, and give pointers or tips or, you know, help each other out, get each other off that, loneliness feeling, sorry, out of that loneliness feeling, out of that struggling, and realizing that there's recognition there for us. So if you are currently rebuilding your own life, adapting to how the way life is now, recovering physically or mentally, just know this: recovery is already hard enough. You don't need to punish yourself, for not being fully okay yet. It takes time and you will get there. I can promise you that, you know. Small progress still matters, and that matters more than you think because that's your foundation. They're your building blocks. So you start with the small progress, start with the small routines, get yourself back on a little track, you know. Enjoy the time. That's one thing I had to learn to do. Enjoy the time, enjoy the sense of freedom that it can bring. Stability still matters, and it matters more than most because without that stability, you're not going to be able to grow. You know what I'm saying? So, surviving any difficult season changes people in ways that others don't see it because the work is done internally, the growth is done internally, you know. Thanks for watching this video. Thank you for listening.